Clicks Group is a specialist retail group focused on health, beauty, and entertainment. The group comprises of Clicks retailers, Musica, The Body Shop, United Pharmaceutical Distributor, and Clicks Direct Medicines, and has operations in South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Swaziland, and Lesotho. The purpose of this video is to showcase one of South Africa's leading HIV/AIDS workplace programs. The Clicks Group has taken a holistic approach to HIV/AIDS risk management through their policies, education, training, counseling, and support through the Employee Wellness Program. Carmela is a former UCT graduate who now works for Clicks in the Human Resources Department. She has developed a particular interest toward the HIV/AIDS Management in the Workplace program.
I did get HIV education at UCT. It was part of our induction process. So during the first week of first year, part of induction was to attend an HIV seminar, and this was in first year. Now that I'm working, I'm seeing with the Clicks Employee Wellness Program, I'm seeing that it is actually quite it's relevant here, so it is definitely transferable. Yes, it is necessary. I didn't actually know how many people had HIV or AIDS, and now that I'm working, I'm seeing that it's quite a number of people that could be, but it's considering how many people I do know now, and knowing that there are many people that actually don't disclose it, it means that there are lots of people that are affected by HIV/AIDS in the workplace. So it needs to be something that's recognized. There are many people that are affected by HIV/AIDS, and especially if you are in a managerial position, you need to look after your employees. And I'm involved in HR, which is basically looking after the employees, and HIV is a subsection of that. How to look after employees that are infected with HIV or AIDS. My advice to UCT students is to take it seriously. I remember in first year, we were very freaked out by how frank the facilitators were, because I know definitely in my situation, I didn't at the time know anybody that was infected with HIV or AIDS, so I always saw it as something that was external to me, something that was never going to happen to me, that I never had to deal with. So in first year, when during our induction process, we learned about HIV, but not just about how it's transmitted, or it was more about how it's important and relevant, and how it can actually affect our lives and happen to us. Now that I'm working, I see that it's something that's not uncomfortable to speak about in the workplace, just because it's part of their job now, you know, to deal with it, and to look after the employees who are suffering from HIV. The stigma, it's still there. As much as we would like to think that it's not, or it shouldn't be, it is there, and it's a reality. And people are afraid to disclose that information because of it. So one of the only ways in which we can decrease it is by educating people about HIV/AIDS.
Jamina Nyakana is the Group Learning and Development Manager for the Clicks Group. She has been responsible for the program's growth and strategy over the past few years.
The Clicks Group Employee Wellness Program was actually established in 2006, and at the time it was out of a response to an impact assessment conducted by Metropolitan at that time. Over the last 18 months, we've gone through a process of saying, let's revisit the program and see, is it still required? How can we better serve employees? So our focus now is on employees, their life and their work. That flows from an understanding that, what you do outside of work has an impact on the work front, and the work front has impact on your life. So we try to balance the two. In terms of our HIV management, our services are still the same as when we started. We offer employees counseling, free counseling and testing. We offer employees free antiretroviral treatment. We offer them multivitamins. For moms who've got small babies, we offer free formula for the first 6 months. So we've introduced, relaunched our IT platform, which is our EWP eCare service, and that's very exciting. What that provides us is that employees are able to profile themselves and to get personal service. On our eCare platform, we've got 3 main services. We've got Ask a Doctor, so you can email a doctor on any medical condition. We've got Ask a Dietitian and Ask a Fitness Expert. So that's one of the exciting things that we're looking at. Our program is accessible through a toll-free number, but what we've added over the last 2 years is a callback service. So you can actually send a please call to the service and they would call you back. We happen to be fortunate because we've got a radio station, so our Clicks Live radio station, so we use it a lot. We've got a standing time slot. Thursday morning at 9:30, we actually have an EWP slot, so we're very fortunate in that sense. If for employees that are not in a store, on our electronic platform, we actually put the podcast to all of the radio slots, so you don't miss out if you're sitting at head office and you can't have access to the radio. And then we offer formal training where we happen to be privileged because we've got premises, we've got a training center, so often we would call in experts, we would call in professionals to run training sessions for our employees. So we're looking at it in terms of a multi-level kind of delivery, because we understand that employees are not only, don't only have access to the radio, but it can be an email, it can be through our website, or through a face-to-face interaction. Our program is targeting employees and their families or their dependents. And often people ask me, who's their dependents? We've left it for the employees to define that, because fortunately or unfortunately in our South African context, if you start talking about family or dependents, then people start saying, my aunt, my uncle. We've said this is a program to help you. Our slogan is about enabling employees to make healthy choices in order to lead healthy lifestyles. And we understand very well, or we recognize that family is part of that. You can never have a healthy lifestyle or a healthy workplace if you don't take that into account. When we refocused the program, we looked at what we call our EWP pillars, and we've said in everything that we're going to do, we must make sure that employees' confidentiality is maintained. We must make sure that the program is accessible. We must make sure that it is independent and professional. Because if you're going to run long-term, a sustainable and credible program, those 4 pillars must be protected at all costs. Of course, there's a whole list of them. One is resources. One is always re-looking at the offering and making sure that you're still meeting employees' needs. But I'll point out to one that often worries me, especially around HIV and AIDS management. Whenever I talk to people in the market, we've got a great offering. It is free, it is accessible, but sometimes what we're finding is that employees register on the HIV/AIDS management program at a later stage. So that's one of the biggest challenges that has plagued our program, to say, if we communicate through our different channels, if we're putting it out there, but we are finding that employees register when their CD4 count is at its lowest. And that for us is quite, it's something that worries me often. We the largest employer of pharmacists outside of government. So we are in the primary healthcare space. We've partnered with government to deliver free HIV testing. Now you would think, or one would think, that with that kind of infrastructure, it would be easier to get everyone tested. Well, for our employees, they don't see it like that. So one of the challenges is to say, how do we get employees to feel comfortable enough to test using our current infrastructure, our clinics, our pharmacies? I think secondly is that we still find that there's remnants of people denying that the disease exists. Hence I think that's why people use it as a last resort. They try everything else and then they say, okay, let's go to the service. One of the biggest things that we try and communicate to our employees, and I suppose it would be relevant to students, know your status in everything else. Once you know your status, know your partner's status. Because often we find people say, you know what, I know I'm HIV negative, but you don't know if your partner is negative. So know your status, protect yourself at whatever cost. It's said we do a lot of programs in schools and talking to young people, especially females, is that often I think they leave their fate to the partner and not having the conversation and not understanding what am I getting myself into. So if I have to repeat, know your status, protect yourself, and get as much information as possible.
The most important thing is to get to know your status. Mm-hmm. If an employee is tested HIV positive or they want to go for an HIV test, they can go to one of the clinics, nurses, and if they test HIV positive, they can be enrolled onto our treatment program. Our registered nurses will then liaise with a treating doctor to get the employee on the treatment program. They will be provided with a special reference number. It's not your employee number of clicks, it's a reference number.